Hello and welcome to another video. I'm just going to tell you about yesterday's art class. So, well, first of all, the taxi was a bit later than last week, and he came in a wheelchair taxi, which was a bit hard to get in. And then, when the class had finished, well, when he dropped me off at the Royal Village Hall, I asked for a taxi back at 5 o'clock. When I'd finished my class, went out, but my taxi wasn't there. When the taxi hadn't come by 5:10, I found up to see where it was, and the fella booked me another taxi. That taxi didn't come till 5:30. I wasn't home till 6:20, and that taxi, the second taxi, was more like a minibus, and that was even harder to get in and out of. But anyway, I got there and I got back eventually. So what happened during class? We were doing 1 point perspective. So this is the horizon line here, and on the horizon line is a vanishing point there. So then what we did first was we drew the horizon line first, then we drew the side of this house here. Then we had to decide where our vanishing point was going to be on the horizon line. Then we drew a line from every point on the house, on the end of the house, like so. We drew that every line from there to that point, and there to that point, and there to that point, all converge on the vanishing point there. And then we put in the house wall, and then the roof, then the next house wall and the roof, making sure that each house gets smaller as it gets further away from you. And then we did the chimneys with the same. We did this chimney first, and then do the line down so that we get every chimney on the one on the same perspective line. And then we did the gardens and the fences, and then across the road we did the trees with all the same. Every tree is on the same line towards the vanishing point, so that it gets smaller as it gets into this. And then we do the people, and even just a little car. So that's your 1 point perspective. Then that was like if we're standing on the road and it just looking straight on. Now we could be looking upwards if the houses were on a hill, or we could be looking downwards if we're on the hill and the houses are in the valley, like. So we did the same thing, but that house was on the horizon line rather than in the middle of it, so that the vanishing point and everything goes down to the vanishing point like that. And if the houses are down in the valley, the house is underneath the horizon line. The vanishing point is always on the horizon line, and then you got your lines going to see back to the horizon line, to this vanishing point on the horizon line, so that you can see this perspective going back. And as it gets further away from it, gets smaller, like. And next, I'm going the wrong way. Next, we did the inside of a room. The vanishing point would be in the middle. If your eye line is in the middle of the room, the vanishing point is in the middle. Then put the back wall in. All these lines are converging behind the back wall. Of course, you don't see these lines in real life. You drub them out if you're doing a painting, and this was how you were putting it together. So he's put a sofa. I said that mine looked like a piano. There's a rug in the middle, a sideboard, and that could be either a window or a picture frame. And there's a shelf there, and there's a light fitment at the top. So that's our indoor 1 point perspective. And that was that. And then what we did next was we did some enlarging for our large project. We had a picture of a horse, and we measured out 5 centimetre squares all over the picture and drew a grid over the picture. And then we got a piece of our large cartridge paper, and we did the same thing with the squares, but 7cm squares instead of the 5cm square. Then we will copy each square separately into this grid, so that we were doing a square at a time, not looking at the whole horse, but just doing a square at a time and concentrating on that, and then going on to the next square and everything. And this is how my horse turned out. Now, if I find out the original picture, I think it's in here. I was allowed to bring it home to finish off. I got to darken some of the shading yet. I think I left it in here. Here we go. So that's the original picture, and that's my drawing. I still think, I think the head's a little bit small, and this might be a little bit big here. And that's a bit big and that's a bit small, but not too bad though, is it? I was quite surprised how well I did, especially with the hooves. I've never been any good at hooves. His bum looks a bit square too. I could round this out a bit more. Anyway, so that's what we did at the art group yesterday. So that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.